Let's speak now to Paul Charles, who's Chief Executive of travel consultancy, the PC Agency. Always great to have you on Global Business Europe, Paul. So look, Lufthansa cancelling these 20,000 flights, that kind of line grabs attention, but is it a warning sign that the whole industry it has to take note of, or is this a very airline-specific problem?
There's no doubt at the moment that the airline industry is in a state of some turmoil in many cases. If you think about it, just at the end of February, they were looking at simple or relatively simple airspace closures. Those airspace closures grew across the Middle East, of course, for the period of the conflict. Then they saw increases in jet fuel and the wider cost of oil, which they've had to deal with in many cases, especially where airlines have not been hedging their fuel or buying fuel well in advance. And also now they're facing the issue of higher inflation, which is feeding through to their costs. 35% typically of an airline's cost structure is jet fuel. So if your 35% cost has gone up by 70% in the case of jet fuel, look at the impact that's having on all airlines across all of their business.
OK, so if flying is going to become more expensive and maybe even less predictable, do travellers start changing their behaviour in a lasting or in a meaningful way? I mean, fewer trips, later booking, shifting where we go altogether?
I think we're seeing already travellers are changing their behaviour. The uncertainty created by the war is leading some to stay closer to home, so they're spending more domestically in their own countries, or they're choosing to holiday closer to their origin point. But also you're seeing fewer business travellers, for example, out of the Middle East into other regions, and therefore business class cabins are less busy. And so airlines are having to offer really cheap or discounted pricing to attract consumers onto their planes, especially into business class. So you're seeing a combination of airlines facing higher costs, fewer people wanting to travel, especially in premium cabins, and airlines having to discount in order to attract that traffic back.
It sounds like you're saying there's going to be a bit of a squeeze on long haul, maybe between Europe and Asia, then it won't become structurally viable. But who really comes under the most pressure if this conflict drags on? Is it airlines? Is it airports? Is it tourism economies? All of these who depend on international visitors?
Well, first of all airlines are having to look at their fleets and their planning at the moment. Every planning team is busy, deep in the charts, looking at where their most profitable routes are and which are the most unprofitable that they need to cut. And many airlines, like Lufthansa, are saying, well, we don't need to fly, say, 3 times a day to Miami, we'll only fly once a day to Miami. So that's where you're going to see likely cancellations if jet fuel does run out in the coming weeks. Then, of course, the airlines themselves are saying, well, how long-term is this? What do we need to fundamentally change in our structure? And there's been some rumours about some airlines going out of business due to running out of money. Now, they're denying that. But the simple truth is that the whole industry is facing a squeeze in the short term. Having said that, longer term, I'm confident the travel industry is very resilient and it will bounce back very quickly when this conflict is over. So we could have a very strong second half of 2026.
But maybe consolidation is on the way for the airlines. Paul Charles, thank you very much. Paul Charles of the PC Agency.